Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
Hi there, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. First, our top stories. The collapse of a building leads to the death of a worker at a construction site, with another worker severely injured. The incident occurred in the Beidi neighborhood in the Douala 5 subdivision, has been blamed on the non-respect of construction norms. Away from that, we'll take you to Limbe, that is where wildlife conservators in the Fako division of the southwest region warned the population of a Sogo village in the west coast of Limbe not to eat the meat of a dead elephant which was discovered in that area. According to Dr. Eta Agbo, the elephant was diagnosed with a rare disease which could easily spread to humans when consumed. Those are top stories. Stay with us for greater details. If you're just joining us, then know you're watching the 6 p.m. primetime newscast, and for presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. Workers of the Cameroon Water Utility Corporation, CamWater, have dismantled several water pipes illegally connected to their meters. The operation carried out in the Douala 4 and 5 subdivisions enabled these pipes to be disconnected, with the perpetrators given summons. Sedi Chakuto has greater details.
An operation aimed at tracking unscrupulous individuals whose main activity is to steal water from the company in charge of the distribution was launched in the littoral region. It is in this context that many cases of illegal connections were dismantled and destroyed in the presence of a belief in the city of Douala, particularly in Douala 4 and 5 subdivisions. Fraudulous water used for households but also for laundries and multi-story building sites.
Nous sommes ici dans un domicile de quelqu'un qui pirate l'eau de la CamWater et qui distribue cette eau.
According to the regional director of CamWater, water fraud has become a phenomenon in the economic capital.
On a constaté qu'il y avait une adéquation entre notre capacité de production et nos ventes. Alors, le questionnement est celui-ci. Où va toute l'eau qui est produite par la CamWater au niveau de Douala?
About 8 households in these neighborhoods of the city consume water fraudulently, a situation that creates a huge loss of earnings for the company.
Quelqu'un qui ne paye pas de l'eau utilise de façon irrationnelle, donc ça crée des manques d'eau dans certaines zones. Nous avons en principe une maîtrise du nombre de nos clients réguliers dans les zones, mais lorsqu'on passe par exemple de 50 à 200 clients, nous on envoie une quantité d'eau pour 50 clients et qu'il y a 200 personnes qui prennent à notre insu. Vous imaginez bien que ça crée des manques d'eau chez nos clients.
Those responsible for these acts of fraud have received summons and will have to answer for their actions before the competent judicial authorities.
8 mètres cubes, il a plus de 20 personnes qui distribuent l'eau.
Faced with the increase in cases of fraud, the General Management of the Cameroon Water Utility Corporation invites everyone to demonstrate responsibility and reaffirms its determination to fight relentlessly against all forms of fraud.
Seri Chakutio reporting there, and despite the payment of part of their bonuses, the National Union of Higher Education Teachers, SINES, during a press conference, have announced that they will go ahead with their strike action despite the payment of part of their salaries. They are denouncing government's refusal to pay their entire research bonuses and allowances. Seri Chakutio once more tells us more.
Despite the payments of the 4th term of the research bonuses, teachers of Cameroonian state universities continue to observe a halt to their activities. The National Union of Higher Education Teachers maintains the strike order, demanding the full payment of the debt owed by the government.
The National Executive Bureau called lecturer to stop any academic activity amongst the 11 University of Cameroon because of the no payment of the allocation given by the head of state. Also the no payment of the academic debt, who has been there for 20 years.
Till date, 57% of lecturers haven't yet entered in possession of their due, that is, the payment of the entire debt as well as the full payment of the research bonuses corresponding to quarters 3 and 4 of the year 2024.
Till now, we have just 57% of lecturers who are still waiting for the payment of their allowance. It is the reason why lecturers are still on strike. We also noticed that there is not any information concerning the period or the payment of the academic debt.
The syndicate is still waiting for the full payment of the debt before proceeding with the lifting of the strike. The lecturers hope to resume their activities at the university as soon as it is done.
We now take you to the southwest region of Cameroon, where wildlife conservators and FACO division are advising inhabitants of a Sogo village in the west coast of Limbe not to consume meat they caught from a dead elephant recently. According to the wildlife officials, the elephant died as a result of a disease which could easily be transmitted to human beings when consumed. Details with Smart Chikangebro.
Inhabitants of a Songo village in the west coast district of Limbe removed last pieces of meat after an elephant died mysteriously around the Njonji, Bakingili area of the Mount Cameroon National Park. Few minutes after the elephant died, veterinary experts sent confirmed the elephant wasn't killed by human, but they were shocked with what they discovered in the stomach of the elephant.
We noticed that barely some hours after the animal had died, there were some very huge maggots in the stomach of the animal. Those huge maggots like that do not develop for a few hours. It means that probably they had been in that animal even when it was alive, and that would be drawing us to the fact that that animal could probably have been infected.
The population of a Songo village who butchered the elephant and took the meat to their house have been given this advice.
The advice we are giving to the population is that an animal that has died from a cause which we do not know, and we are pointing at infection, it means that animal is not fit for consumption by the population. There are zoonotic diseases that are transmitted from animals to humans, and even from humans to animals by eating wildlife and all of that.
According to the newly revised and officially promulgated forestry law of 2024, though that elephants remain Class A, totally protected species of animals.
Those who have collected parts of those animals, they should know that they did it in violation of the law. First, they have violated the law. Secondly, they may be exposed to illness if they eat it.
The people of a Songo village are now being advised to throw away the elephant meat they collected, without which it could lead to the spread of diseases in their community.
Now to one of our major lead story. At least one person has died and another severely injured at a construction site in Bedi in the Douala 5 subdivision. The accident has been blamed on the non-respect of construction norms. Innocent Aze has greater details.
It was around 5 p.m. Thursday when earth collapsed and buried 2 of the 4 workers on the construction site in Bedi, precisely at Block Card in the Douala 5 subdivision. The 2 trapped could not escape like their friends. They were digging a foundation to raise an embankment. Alarm raised by the 2 others, assembled inhabitants with spades, who struggled to help the 2 victims before the arrival of rescue soldiers. The joint rescue operation enabled one of the victims covered by the massive earth to be put out alive and transported to the hospital urgently. By the time they saw the second, he was already dead. Governor of the Litowa region and his entourage went down to the scene to take stock of the situation. Several of such deadly landslides have been recorded in Douala, mostly at construction sites. A construction engineer says it is not a surprise for the recurrence of landslides at construction sites in Douala with a loose soil texture that cannot support huge weight.
Argilo-sablonneux. Et ce qui fait que cette texture n'accepte pas la saturation.
He thinks the causes of landslides in Douala, like that in Bedi, could stem from
les causes peuvent être naturelles,
natural and human factors. inundation, abusive digging, poor human behavior, negligence when constructing on risky zones. He advises precautions should always be taken.
Parce que lorsqu'on construit au niveau d'un talus, on prend les précautions.
Considering the Bedi incident and the previous landslides, the engineer advises contractors to always recruit a controlled engineer to guide the workers on where and how to dig.
Si celui-là avait bien fait son travail, je pense que le drame de Bedi ne serait pas arrivé.
Contractors and workers are advised to be more prudent at construction sites, especially when digging a foundation, in a bid to avoid being victims of such recurrent deadly landslides.
An unfortunate incident that occurred over there in Bedi in the Douala 5 subdivision. Now to our sad page, Cameroon and the international community mourn the demise of a visionary leader, Professor Pier Titi. He died on the 17th of January 2025 in Yaoundé following an illness. He was a sociologist and member of the Lekam Electoral Council. Who was he and what are some of his achievements? Our reporter, Eselus Liengu, has answers.
Il faut que nous choisissions nos dirigeants.
Professor Pier Titi, a prominent sociologist and member of the Electoral Council of Elections Cameroon, Elekam, passed away at the age of 85 on January 17, 2025 in Yaoundé, in the Central Region. In 2004, Pier Titi was the head of the National Justice and Peace Service of a Catholic association. During the last presidential election, in his report, he questioned why half of Cameroonians were not registered on the electoral list. 24 years later, various political actors are working to encourage citizens to register massively. Professor Pier Titi has been a member of the Lekam Electoral Council since July 7, 2011, and he passed away less than a month after the renewal of his 4-year mandate on December 20th. He was said to be part of a team leading the council's activities during the electoral process planned for this year. On January 17, the professor and other members of the Electoral Council were expected to begin their tour in Douala, but unfortunately, he won't be part of the mission.
Ce que nous devons faire pour que ce processus soit bien organisé.
For the past 14 years, Professor Titi is one of those who have been advocating for a fair, transparent and credible elections in the country. He participated in the presidential elections of 2011 and 2018, as well as the parliamentary, regional and legislative elections. Born on November 1st, 1940 in Matom, Nyongankele Division, he held a doctorate in sociology from the University of Paris X Nanterre, and he later graduated from ENAM in the year 1985. His death leaves a profound void in the hearts of his family members, colleagues, and friends.
And still on our sad page, David Abuem, former Minister of Higher Education, former Secretary General at the Presidency, former Governor of the Northwest and Southwest region, is no more. The biography of David Abuem Choi projects a man from a humble background who moved to prominence, having lived the realities of both the English-speaking and French-speaking Cameroonian or Cameroon regions. He was born in Kribi in the South region. Femi Armstrong Sanda tells us more about the prolific figure.
Born on January 15, 1944 in Kribi, in the Ocean Division of the South region of Cameroon, David Abuem Achoi attended the primary school of his native village in 1950. He then embarked on his secondary education at the Evangelical College of Libamba from 1956 to 1964. From there, he enrolled at the University of Yaoundé, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in law in 1967 before entering the National School of Administration and Magistracy in Nam, from where he graduated in 1969. Assigned to the Ministry of Territorial Administration, he was head of the Coordination Service, Director for Territorial Organization, and the Secretary General from August 31, 1972. He successively held the following position: Secretary General of the Ministry of Planning and Regional Development, Secretary General of the Ministry of the Economy and Planning, and the Secretary General of the Prime Minister's Office from July 17, 1975. On September 8, 1976, he was appointed governor of the Northwest Province before occupying the same position in the Southwest Province. On February 4, 1984, he was appointed as the Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic of Cameroon. It was after this position that from August 24, 1985 to November 21, 1986, he became Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research. Before his demise, he was one of the members of the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism.
Now we talk something else. Many Africans have joined the Russian ranks since the start of the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Amongst these Africans are Cameroonians who traveled to Russia for work after being promised juicy positions. Unfortunately, they were forced to work with the Russian army. Malaglory tells us more about the challenges faced by these Africans in this part of the world.
The Insider, a Russia-focused independent media outlet, estimates that around 2,000 citizens from more than 50 countries have fought in the Donbass region, with 75% supporting Russia.
Rostov, I stayed there 2 weeks, some trainings there. They was teaching us how to control the aftermath, how to shoot from 100 yards, how to snipe from far away, I think.
I'm moving some miles, and I saw so many of my colleagues who are being in the same camp, training together. I saw so many of them, they are lying down dead. So I said, no, I don't want this contact. In that way, and this is not my wish, say don't care. You have to face your enemy.
One of them, a Cameroonian who thought he was coming to work in Russia, testifies by raising awareness about human trafficking. In one of his very last message, he expressed his fed-up feelings. He says he would drop down his weapon because he is afraid to be killed on their next mission. Just like him, many Cameroonians have been testifying on what they are going through in Russia. They say as soon as they can walk, they are sent to the front while the Russians stay in the camp. They send the blacks and internationals ahead to occupy and advance. In this frustrating situation, these Africans, especially the Cameroonians, thus call for the authorities concerned to come to their aid.
And that's what we gathered for you for today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of more interesting programs. Coming up next in a few minutes is a program Equinoxe Soir presented by Serge Along Otu. From us to you over there, have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye for now.